I wake up to the sound of nothing. That is the first thing you notice when you get older, the silence. Bob used to snore like a freight train. I would nudge him with my elbow every night. For 43 years, I nudged that man. Now the pillow next to me is smooth. No dent, no snoring, no warmth. I reach over and touch his side of the bed. The sheets are cold. They have been cold for 6 months now. But the divorce was final 8 months ago. I am still not used to it. My name is Margaret, but everyone calls me Mags. I am 68 years old. I live alone in a 2-bedroom condo on the edge of Portland, Oregon. It is smaller than the house, much smaller, but I could not afford the house after everything. The lawyers took their share, Bob took his share, and I took what was left, which was not much for a woman who gave 43 years of her life to a man, to 3 children, to a family I thought was unbreakable. I get out of bed slowly. My knees hurt. They have hurt for years. Arthritis, my doctor calls it. I call it the price of raising 3 kids and carrying groceries and chasing toddlers and kneeling beside bathtubs and scrubbing floors that never stayed clean for more than 5 minutes. I put on my robe. It is pink flannel. My daughter Jennifer gave it to me 10 years ago for Christmas. I do not wear it because it reminds me of her. I wear it because it is warm and I am tired of buying new things for myself. The coffee maker is old. It takes forever to brew. I stand in the kitchen and watch the dark liquid drip into the glass pot. The kitchen smells like nothing, just old wood and the faint ghost of bacon from 3 days ago. I used to love mornings. Bob would make pancakes on Saturdays. The kids would run around the kitchen island in their pajamas. Sarah would steal bacon off the plate before anyone sat down. Michael would hide under the table and scare me when I walked past. And Jennifer, sweet little Jenny, she would sit on the counter and kick her feet and tell me long, rambling stories about her dreams. I miss those mornings more than I miss anything else in this world, including Bob. The coffee is ready. I pour a cup, black, no sugar, no cream. I drink it standing at the window. The parking lot is half empty. Most people in this building are at work or at the store or living their lives. I have nowhere to be, no grandchildren to pick up from school, no husband to drive to his doctor appointment, no daughter to call and check on, just me and this cup of coffee and the quiet. I met Bob in 1979. I was 25, he was 28. We met at a bar in downtown Portland, the old Portland, before it got fancy, before the artisanal coffee shops and the organic grocery stores and the people who pay $12 for a sandwich. It was a dive bar with sticky floors and cheap beer and a jukebox that played nothing but country music. I was there with my friend Carol. Bob was there with his friend Tommy. Bob bought me a drink. A whiskey sour. I still remember the taste. Sweet and sharp and warm going down. He was handsome. Tall, broad shoulders, dark hair. A smile that made you feel like you were the only woman in the room. We danced. One slow song. I cannot remember the song now, but I remember the way he held me. Firm but gentle, like he was afraid to break me. He walked me to my car and kissed me on the cheek and said he would call me. I did not believe him, but he called the next day and the day after that. And for 43 years, he was the first person I talked to in the morning and the last person I talked to at night. Or so I thought. Our wedding was small, June 1980. My father walked me down the aisle in a white dress I bought on sale at JCPenney. Bob cried when he saw me. His mother cried. My mother cried. Everyone cried. It was that kind of wedding, the kind where everyone believed in forever. We drove to the Oregon coast for our honeymoon, 3 days in a tiny cabin in Cannon Beach. It rained the whole time. We did not care. We were young and in love, and the rain felt like a blessing. The children came fast. Jennifer was born in 1982. She came out screaming and never stopped. She was a difficult baby. Colic, crying all night. Nothing I did could settle her. I walked miles and miles around our living room with her in my arms. Bob worked long hours then. He was a salesman for a roofing company. He would come home tired and eat dinner in front of the TV and fall asleep on the couch. I was alone a lot, but that was fine. I had my baby, I had my house, I had a husband who came home every night. Sarah came in 1984. She was the easy one. Sweet, quiet. She slept through the night at 6 weeks old. She smiled at everyone. She was the kind of baby that made you want to have 10 more. Michael came in 1987. He was my surprise, my late baby. I was 33 when he was born. The doctor said that was old back then. Now women have babies at 45 and nobody blinks. Michael was all boy. Dirt bikes, skateboards, broken bones, emergency room visits. I still have a scar on my thumb from the time I tried to catch him falling off the swing set. Those years were hard. Anyone who says raising kids is easy is lying or has a full-time nanny. I was tired all the time. My hands were always wet from dishes and baths and wiping faces. My back hurt from bending down to pick up toys and shoes and tiny socks that disappeared into another dimension. But I was happy. That is the thing I want to make clear. I was happy. I loved being a mother. I loved my messy, chaotic, loud house. I loved the smell of peanut butter sandwiches and macaroni and cheese and laundry detergent. I loved story time before bed. I loved packing lunches at 5 in the morning. I loved carpool lines and parent-teacher conferences and Little League games on Saturdays. I loved it all. Bob was a good father. Not a perfect father. He worked too much. He missed some recitals and some games. But he showed up when it mattered. He taught Michael how to throw a baseball. He taught Jennifer how to drive. He walked Sarah down the aisle when she married her college sweetheart. He was there. He was always there. Until he was not. The first crack appeared in 2015. I was 59. Bob was 62. He retired from the roofing company. I thought retirement would be wonderful. We would travel. We would garden. We would finally have time for each other after all those years of raising kids and paying bills and surviving. But retirement changed him. He became restless, irritable. He would sit in his recliner for hours staring at the TV. He stopped talking to me the way he used to. He stopped looking at me the way he used to. Our conversations became short, functional. Did you take your pills? What do you want for dinner? Did you call the doctor? That was it. I told myself it was normal. Men struggle with retirement. They lose their identity. They feel useless. I gave him space. I tried to find things for us to do together. I suggested ballroom dancing classes. He laughed and said no. I suggested joining a book club. He looked at me like I had 3 heads. I suggested volunteering at the church. He said church was for old people. We were old people, but he did not want to admit it. Then Bob found a new hobby, golf. He had never played golf a day in his life, but suddenly he was buying clubs and shoes and expensive shirts with little alligators on them. He joined a country club, a nice one, the kind of place where you have to know someone to get in. I did not know how he got in. He had never mentioned knowing anyone at that club, but he was excited. He had that old spark back. I was grateful. I thought golf was saving our marriage. He started playing 3 times a week, then 4 times, then 5. He would leave the house at 7 in the morning and come home at 6 at night, showered, smelling like soap and cologne, even though he just spent all day outside sweating in the sun. I asked him about that once. I said, "Why do you shower at the club instead of at home?" He said the locker room had nice towels. I believed him. That is the part that haunts me. I believed everything. For years, I believed everything. The money started disappearing slowly, small amounts, $20 here, $50 there. I noticed because I have always been careful with money. My mother taught me to track every penny. I would write down every expense in a little notebook. The notebook never lied, but I started seeing withdrawals from our joint account that did not match anything in the notebook. I asked Bob about it. He said he bought new golf clubs. He said he bought drinks for his friends. He said the country club raised its fees. I believed him. Why would I not believe him? He was my husband. The grandchildren started coming. Jennifer had 2 boys, Tyler and Brandon. Sarah had a girl, Emily. Michael had a boy, Lucas. I loved being a grandmother more than anything. I would watch those kids every chance I got. Jennifer worked full-time. She was a real estate agent, always showing houses, always on the phone. I took care of Tyler and Brandon 3 days a week, sometimes 4. I did not mind. I loved those boys. I loved their sticky fingers and their loud voices and the way they said Grandma Mags. I would feed them lunch. I would take them to the park. I would read them stories until they fell asleep on my lap. Those were the best days of my later life. Just me and those sweet boys. Sarah lived an hour away. I did not see Emily as often, but we had standing Sunday phone calls. Sarah would put Emily on the phone, and I would listen to her babble about her dolls and her friends and her teacher who wore funny shoes. Michael lived across town. He and his wife Laura had Lucas. Laura did not like me. I never knew why. I tried everything. I brought meals, I offered to babysit, I bought thoughtful Christmas presents. But Laura was cold, distant. She would hand me Lucas like she was handing me a package she wanted to return. I loved Lucas anyway. He had Michael's eyes, my son's eyes. Every time I looked at that little boy, I saw my baby Michael running around in diapers with a juice box in his hand. I was happy. I was exhausted, but happy. My life was full. My children, my grandchildren, my husband who played golf and came home every night and kissed me on the forehead before bed. I thought I had made it. I thought I had survived the hard years and earned the good years. I was wrong. The thing that broke everything started small. It always starts small. It was a Tuesday, a regular Tuesday in March. The rain was coming down hard, Oregon rain, the kind that does not stop for days. I was at the grocery store, Fred Meyer, the one on Southeast Division Street. I was buying milk and eggs and bread and a rotisserie chicken because I did not feel like cooking. Bob was out playing golf, of course. The rain did not stop him. Nothing stopped him. I was in the checkout line when I saw a woman I did not recognize. She was maybe 50, well-dressed, expensive boots, a cashmere coat. She had dark hair and sharp features and a confident way of standing. She was behind me in line. She had a basket with wine and cheese and flowers. Nice flowers. The kind you buy for someone you love, not the kind you buy for a sick aunt or a coworker. The woman's phone rang. She answered it. Her voice was low, but the checkout line was quiet. I could not help but hear. She said, "Hey babe, I am almost done." Then she laughed. That soft, intimate laugh you only use with someone you are close to. She said, "I got the wine you like, the expensive one." Then she paused. Then she said, "See you soon. Love you too." I did not think anything of it. People say love you too on the phone all the time. It means nothing and everything. But then I saw her license plate when I walked to my car. Her car was parked next to mine, a black Mercedes, clean, new. And the license plate said, Bob's Club. I stared at it for a long time, rain dripping down my face. I told myself it was a coincidence. Bob is a common name. Club is a common work. But my stomach was already turning. My body knew before my brain did. I drove home. I put the groceries away. I made the bed. I vacuumed the living room. I wiped down the kitchen counters. I did all the things I always did, but my hands were shaking. I could not stop thinking about that woman. Her dark hair, her expensive boots, her soft laugh, and that license plate, Bob's Club. Bob came home at 6:15, showered, smelling like soap and cologne. He kissed my forehead and asked what was for dinner. I said chicken. He said, "Sounds good." He sat in his recliner and turned on the news, just like every other night. I stood in the kitchen doorway and watched him. He looked normal. He looked like my husband. But something was different. The air between us was different. He felt farther away than he had ever been. I did not ask him about the license plate. I did not ask him about the woman. I was afraid. I was 65 years old. What was I going to do if my worst fear was true? Leave him? Start over? Alone? I did not have the energy for alone. I did not have the courage. So I did what I had always done. I kept quiet. I kept the peace. I pretended. The next few weeks were torture. I started watching Bob, really watching him. The way he checked his phone, the way he smiled at texts, the way he started dressing nicer, not for me, for someone else. He bought new teens, new shoes. He started shaving every day, even when he was not going anywhere. He lost weight, 10 pounds, 15 pounds. He said it was because he was walking the golf course, but I knew in my bones. I started checking our bank statements online. Bob did not know I knew how. He thought I was bad with computers, But Jennifer had taught me years ago. I logged into our account one night while Bob was sleeping. My hands were shaking so bad I could barely type the password. The screen loaded, and there it was. A pattern of withdrawals I had never seen before. Not the small 20s and 50s I had noticed before. Large amounts. $500 here, $1,000 there. All withdrawn on days Bob played golf. All withdrawn at ATMs near the country club. Then I found the credit card. A card I did not know existed. It was linked to our account, but Bob had set up paperless billing. I never saw the statements. I opened the digital statement and scrolled down. Charges at restaurants. Nice restaurants. The kind of places Bob never took me. Charges at hotels. Not expensive hotels, but the kind of hotels you rent by the hour, if you know what I mean. Charges at a jewelry store. A Tiffany. He bought her jewelry. My money. Our money. He bought that woman in the cashmere coat jewelry. I closed the laptop. I sat in the dark living room. The clock on the wall ticked. The refrigerator hummed, and I just sat there. I did not cry. I did not scream. I just sat. Because crying and screaming would mean admitting that my life was a lie, and I was not ready to admit that. Not yet. I called Jennifer the next day. I told her I needed to talk. She said she was busy. She had a client. She would call me back. She did not call me back. I called Sarah. She was at work. She said, "Can it wait?" I said, "I guess so." She said, "Okay, Mom, love you, bye." I called Michael. He did not answer. I left a voicemail. He never called me back. That was the second crack, the one that hurt almost as much as Bob. My children, the people I gave everything to, the people I stayed up all night with when they had fevers, the people I drove to school and practice and friends' houses and college and back again. They did not have time for me. They were busy. They had lives. I understood that. I did. But I was drowning, and they did not even look up from their phones long enough to notice. I decided to confront Bob myself. I planned it for a Friday. He always came home early on Fridays, 5 o'clock instead of 6. I made his favorite dinner, pot roast, mashed potatoes, green beans. The house smelled like my mother's kitchen. I set the table with the good dishes, the ones we got for our wedding. I lit a candle. I wanted everything to be perfect, because I knew that after tonight, nothing would ever be perfect again. Bob walked in at 5:15. He looked good, tan, fit, happy, happier than I had seen him in years. He kissed my cheek and said something smells amazing. We sat down to eat. We talked about nothing. The weather, the neighbors, the new car Michael bought. Normal things, safe things. And then I put down my fork and I looked at him and I said, "Who is she?" Bob froze. His hand stopped halfway to his mouth. The fork hovered in the air. He looked at me. His eyes were wide, confused, scared. He said, "Who is who?" I said, "The woman in the black Mercedes with the license plate that says Bob's Club. The woman you buy jewelry for. The woman you take to hotels. The woman you say love you too to on the phone." Bob put down his fork. He wiped his mouth with his napkin. He took a long, slow breath. And then he told me the truth. Not all of it, but enough. Her name was Diane. She was 52. She worked at the country club, in the pro shop. He met her 3 years ago. 3 years. For 3 years he had been lying to me. For 3 years he had been coming home to me after being with her. For 3 years he had been spending our money on her. For 3 years he had been telling her he loved her, while I was home alone watching TV and folding laundry and wondering why my husband did not look at me anymore. I asked him if he loved her. He said yes. I asked him if he loved me. He was quiet for a long time. Then he said, "I love you like I love a sister." A sister. 43 years of marriage. 3 children, 6 grandchildren. A lifetime of sacrifice and compromise and hard work. And he loved me like a sister. I got up from the table. I walked to the bathroom. I closed the door. And I threw up. The next few weeks were a blur. Bob moved out. He did not fight. He just packed a bag and left. He moved into an apartment downtown, near the country club, near Diane. I stayed in the house. The big house. The house we bought together in 1990. The house where we raised our children. The house where I scrubbed crayon off the walls and patched holes from teenage tantrums and painted the kitchen 3 different colors because I could never decide which yellow was right. That house. I stayed there alone. I thought my children would rally around me. I thought they would be angry at Bob. I thought they would take my side. But they did not. They were confused. They were uncomfortable. They did not want to pick sides. Bob was their father. They loved him. I understood that. But I needed someone to be angry for me, someone to say what he did was wrong. No one did. Not really. Jennifer came to visit once. She brought coffee. She sat on my couch and listened to me cry. Then she said something I will never forget. She said, "Mom, you have to understand that Dad was unhappy." I looked at her. I said I was unhappy too. I was lonely. I was invisible. But I did not have an affair. Jennifer shrugged. She said things are different now. People stay in unhappy marriages less.
She said it like I was the one who did something wrong, like I was the one who failed. Sarah called. She cried with me on the phone. She said she was sorry, but she also said she did not want to lose her father. She said she needed time to process. She never called again to check on me. Not once. Michael came over with Laura. Laura looked at me like I was contagious, like my broken marriage might infect hers. Michael hugged me. He said he loved me. But then he said he needed to stay neutral. Neutral. There is no neutral when your father betrays your mother. There is right and there is wrong. But Michael chose neutral, which means he chose Bob. The divorce took 6 months. Bob fought me on everything. The house, the retirement account, the car. Everything we built together he wanted to take from me. His lawyer said I was entitled to half. Bob said I did not deserve half because I had not worked. I stayed home with the children. I cooked and cleaned and raised 3 human beings while he played golf and had an affair. But in his mind, I did not work. I did not contribute. I did not earn half. We settled. I got the house, but I could not afford the mortgage on my own, so I sold it. I sold the house where my children took the first steps, where they opened presents on Christmas morning, where they learned to ride bikes in the driveway. I sold it to a young couple with 2 toddlers. They were excited. They paint up the kitchen gray.
They tore out the garden I had tended for 30 years. They cut down the maple tree my father planted when Jennifer was born. I drove by one day and did not recognize the house. It was not my home anymore. It was just a building. I moved into this condo, the 2-bedroom unit with the parking lot view. I brought my bed, my dresser, my mother's china, a few photo albums. Everything else I sold or gave away. 30 years of stuff, a lifetime of memories, gone. I live simply now. I do not need much. I am 68 years old. What do I need? Bob married Diane 6 months after the divorce was final. The wedding was at the country club. Jennifer went. Sarah went. Michael went. They posted pictures on Facebook. Diane wore white, at 52, marrying a man who left his wife of 43 years, and she wore white. My children smiled in the photos. They held champagne glasses. They looked happy. I looked at those photos on my phone, sitting alone in my condo, eating a frozen dinner. And I felt something inside me close, something that had been open my whole life. It closed, and it has not opened again. I do not see my grandchildren much anymore. Jennifer stopped bringing the boys. She said it was too complicated, too much back and forth. She said the boys love their grandfather and Diane. Diane. My grandchildren call her Grandma Diane. I was Grandma Mags. Now I am just Mags. When I do see them, once every few months. Tyler is 10 now. Brandon is 8. They are polite.
Distant. They do not remember the days I spent with them. The park, the stories, the peanut butter sandwiches cut into triangles because that was the only way they would eat them. They do not remember. They were too young. Sarah brings Emily sometimes, on her way to something else. A quick stop, 20 minutes. Emily sits on my couch and watches her tablet. She does not talk to me. She does not look at me.
I give her a cookie and she says thanks and goes back to her screen. I do not know her anymore. I do not know any of them anymore. Michael cut me off completely. Laura said I was too negative, too bitter. She said I needed therapy. Maybe she was right. Maybe I am bitter, but I earned the right to be bitter. I gave my life to that family, and they threw me away like a broken toy. Like I was the one who cheated. Like I was the one who lied. I was just the one who stayed, and staying made me the villain. I still do not understand that. Some nights I sit by the window and watch the cars in the parking lot. I think about the woman I used to be, the young woman in the bar who believed in love, the bride who cried at her own wedding, the mother who held her babies and promised to protect them forever. That woman is gone. She died somewhere along the way. Maybe the night I confronted Bob. Maybe the day my children chose him over me. Maybe the moment I signed the divorce papers. I do not know exactly when, but she is gone. I still go to church. The same church where my children were baptized. The same church where we sat in the same pew every Sunday for 30 years. I sit alone now. The pews are full of families. Young parents with squirmy toddlers, grandparents holding babies, teenagers on their phones. I sit in the back. I say my prayers. I light a candle for my mother, for my father, for the marriage I thought I had. Then I go home and eat lunch and watch TV and wait for nothing. The hardest part is not the betrayal. The hardest part is the silence. The phone does not ring. The doorbell does not ring. My email is full of coupons and political ads and nothing else. I have become invisible to my children, to my grandchildren, to the world. I walk through the grocery store and people look through me. I am an old woman alone. Nobody sees me. Nobody wants to see me. Because seeing me means seeing what could happen to them. The betrayal, the abandonment, the loneliness. I think about Diane sometimes, the woman in the cashmere coat. I wonder if she knows what she bought. A man who lies, a man who cheats, a man who leaves. Maybe she thinks she is special. Maybe she thinks he will be faithful to her. Maybe she is right. Or maybe one day she will wake up next to him and realize the same thing I realized, that Bob loves Bob. He always has. He just needed someone to take care of him. First me, now her, someday someone else. I am not bitter. That is a lie. I am bitter. I am angry. I am sad. I am all of those things at the same time. But I am also tired. So tired. I do not have the energy for revenge. I do not have the energy for forgiveness. I just have enough energy to wake up, make coffee, watch the parking lot, go to bed, and do it again tomorrow. Last week I found an old photo, buried in a box I had not opened since the move. It was from 1985. Jennifer was 3. Sarah was 1. Bob was holding Michael. Michael was a newborn, so tiny, so perfect. We were all standing in front of the house. The house. The maple tree was small then, just a sapling. We were all smiling, all of us, together, happy. I looked at that photo for a long time. I traced my finger over Bob's face, over Jennifer's curly hair, over Sarah's chubby cheeks, over Michael's closed eyes, and I cried. Not because I miss them. I do miss them. But because I realized that family never existed. Not really. It was a photograph, a moment, a story I told myself. The truth was always waiting underneath. I just refused to see it. The rain is starting again. I can hear it against the window. Oregon rain. The kind that does not stop. I pour another cup of coffee, black, no sugar, no cream. I watch the parking lot fill up and empty out. People coming home, people leaving, living their lives. I am 68 years old. I have 3 children, 6 grandchildren, an ex-husband who loved me like a sister, and a condo with a parking lot view. This is my life now. This is all that is left.
And I am still trying to figure out if that is enough. Some days I think it is. Some days I think I can do this. I can be alone. I can be invisible. I can drink my coffee and watch the rain and wait for nothing. Some days I think I am strong. And then other days I sit in the dark and I cannot breathe. I think about the woman in the bar, the bride, the mother, the grandmother, all those versions of me, all gone. And I wonder if any of them were real, or if I was always just the woman who would end up alone in a condo with a parking lot view. I do not have an answer. I do not think there is an answer. There is just the rain, and the coffee, and the quiet, and the slow, painful business of waking up every morning when the person you love most in the world chose someone else, when the children you raised with your own body chose someone else, when everything you built turned out to be made of nothing. You wake up anyway, you pour the coffee, you watch the rain, and you keep breathing, even when breathing feels like the hardest thing you have ever done. My phone is on the table. It has not rung in 3 days. There is a text from Jennifer from last week. She said, "Hope you are doing okay." I did not respond. What is there to say? No, I am not doing okay. My husband left me for another woman. My children barely speak to me. I spend holidays alone. I eat dinner over the kitchen sink because sitting at the table feels too sad. I am not okay, but she does not want to hear that.
Nobody wants to hear that. They want me to be fine. They want me to move on. They want me to be the strong mother who rises above. But I am tired of being strong. I am tired of rising above. I just want someone to sit with me in the dark and hold my hand and say, "This is terrible. What happened to you is terrible, and I am sorry." But no one comes. No one sits with me. No one holds my hand. The rain falls, the coffee gets cold, and I am here, alone, in a condo, on the edge of Portland, watching a parking lot, remembering a life that never really was. And somehow that is the worst part of all. Not the affair, not the divorce, not the loneliness, but the realization that the happy memories I cling to might have been fake too, that I was the only one who believed in them, that everyone else was just pretending, and I was too blind to see. The rain is loud now. I close my eyes. I listen to it beat against the glass, and I wonder if tomorrow will be different. It will not be different. Tomorrow will be the same. The coffee, the window, the quiet, the empty phone, the slow death of a woman who loved too much and trusted too long and got nothing in return, except this, a parking lot, a cold bed, a story no one wants to hear, but I am telling it anyway, because someone should know. Someone should know that love does not always win, that family does not always stay, that forever is a lie we tell ourselves when we are too afraid to look at the truth. I open my eyes. The rain is still falling. The parking lot is empty now. Everyone is inside, warm, safe, loved, or at least not alone. I am the only one left, the only one watching. I take a sip of cold coffee. I wrap my robe tighter around my shoulders, and I wait. For nothing. For everything. For the phone to ring, for the door to open, for someone to come back. I will be waiting for a long time. I know that now. But I do not know how to stop. I have been waiting my whole life. For Bob to love me the way I loved him, for my children to see me, for my family to choose me. I am still waiting, and I will probably be waiting until the day I die. That is the real betrayal. Not the affair, not the divorce, not the loneliness. It is the waiting. The endless, hopeless waiting for people who were never coming back, because they were never really there to begin with. I set down my cup. I stand up. I walk to the bedroom. The bed is made. The sheets are cold. I pull back the blanket and get in. The rain taps against the window like fingers, like someone knocking. But there is no one there. There is never anyone there. I close my eyes, and I dream of a young woman in a bar, a whiskey sour, a handsome man, a promise, and I wake up. And the rain is still falling, and I am still alone. And the story of my life is nothing but a long, slow lesson in letting go of things that were never mine to hold.